Hi, welcome to this lecture video wherein we will discuss about the atomic structure. There are a lot of history and revisions with the atomic theory, but for now, first it states that the elements or those that are listed in the periodic table are composed of extremely small particles called atoms. Then every atom, later on, we will discuss. Uh, every atom is composed of even smaller subatomic particles. Then number two, all the atoms of a given element are identical, having the same size, mass, and chemical properties. Then the atoms of one element are different from the atoms of all other elements. For example, atoms of hydrogen is the same within the hydrogen element. But atoms of beryllium would be different from the atom of hydrogen, for example. Third, when more than one element, okay, combine, they form what we call compounds. Then any compound is in the ratio of numbers, this in the subscript, of any two of the elements present. It's either an integer or a simple fraction. For example, you can see here, CO2. Okay, so there's no decimal point. It is a whole number. For example, H2O2. So this number represents the ratio of different atoms. For example, there is two oxygen and one carbon. Okay. Number four, a chemical reaction involves only separation, combination, or rearrangement. It does not result in creation or destruction. For example, in this chemical reaction wherein calcium hydroxide reacts with phosphoric acid, as you can see, if there is calcium on the reactant side, there's also calcium in the product side. And the oxygen, hydrogen, phosphorus, or all elements that present in the reactants after the chemical reaction should also be present in the product side. Okay? So there is no new element and there is no element that would be lost in the chemical reaction. So that's what it says in the fourth statement. Now, when forming compounds, there are laws of matter that must be followed. First is the law of conservation of mass by Anton Lavoisier, which states that the total mass of substances present after a chemical reaction is the same as the total mass of the substances before the reaction. For example here, let's say you have 100 grams of mercuric oxide. After the reaction, it would produce mercury and oxygen, but if you combine the weight or the mass, it would lead to the same result or the same mass before the chemical reaction happens. Next, the law of constant composition by Joseph Proust, which states that all samples of a compound that have the same composition will have the same proportions by mass of the constituent elements. For example, here in sample A, we have 10 grams, say, of a compound, which contains 1.119 grams of hydrogen and then 8.881 grams of oxygen. Now, when we divide the masses of each element to the sample mass, we will obtain the percent mass of hydrogen and oxygen, which is 11.19 and 88.81 respectively. So you can try in your calculators. So divide this by 10 and then times 100. Now, let's say we have the sample B of the same compound, which has more mass, let's say 27 grams. Then, after the reaction, it has 3.021 grams of hydrogen and 23.979 grams of oxygen. When we divide each mass of the element to the sample mass, as you can see, the percent hydrogen and oxygen will not change. So that's what it says in the law of constant composition, wherein even if the sample mass changes, okay, the percentage of respective elements will remain the same. Next, for the law of multiple proportions, it states that if two elements form more than a single compound, the masses of one element combined with a fixed mass of the second are in the ratio of small whole numbers. Just like earlier, there is an integer which represents the number of atoms in a compound. So for example, CO, there is only one carbon and then one oxygen. For CO2, it says that there is one carbon and then two oxygen. Same goes with these other compounds. Next, as stated earlier, every element is composed of atoms, and every atom is composed of even smaller subatomic particles. Now, there are many subatomic particles that are discovered, but we will focus on discussions on the most stable or most common three. First one is the electron, discovered by J.J. Thomson. So this is the negatively charged particles and has a mass of only 9 times 10 to the negative 28 grams. So it is very, very light. Next, if we have a negatively charged electron, the positively charged particles are called the protons. So this proton has a mass of 1.67 times 10 to the negative 24 grams, so a bit heavier than the electrons. Along with the proton is the neutron, which is the neutral charges discovered by James Chadwick, which has almost the same mass with the proton. Now, protons and neutron resides at the center of the nucleus, which electrons revolve around. Okay, now that we know the three subatomic particles, we can start to write the structure of atom. First, we need the symbol of the element, which we can find on the periodic table. And on the upper left is the mass number or the combined mass of the proton and neutrons. And on the lower left is the atomic number, which is equivalent to the number of protons or the number of electrons, and also the placement of the element in the periodic table. Now, every atom could have some changes in their numbers of subatomic particles, which could lead to them being either an isotope or ion. Isotope, first, are atoms of the same atomic number but different mass number due to the different number of protons are called isotopes. When atoms lose or gain electrons, for example now, in the course of a chemical reaction, they form ions, which carries the net charges. Okay?